welcome to the Improv Summit. As always, I'm your host, and with me today, I have a wonderful guest. That wonderful guest with me today is Michael. Michael, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good. Haha.
Good. There you go. I don't know why I said haha too, but great. I love it. Okay, cool. Let's jump right in because everyone knows all about me. In fact, I think they know a little too much about me and probably more than they want to know. So let's talk about you and your improv experience. What is your relationship to improv? Whatever that means to you.
My relationship with improv is, well, I started doing improv kind of accidentally by being like a class clown and figuring out the best ways to make people laugh, or the best, most creative ways to get out of trouble because I made people laugh.
Hmm.
Um, or other people are making people laugh, and I'm like, let me steal that. How do I, so that's kind of where my improv relationship started. But then, like more officially, kind of class-based improv as we know it, 20-minute sets, all that, started in college when I was doing social justice theater, and we were improvising basically, scenes about racism, about sexism, ageism, and so yeah, it was very serious. It wasn't really comedic based, and so that was. Yeah, but I would say, yeah, my relationship with that, I loved it because I'm like, great, we're actually telling a story that matters, but also we have the freedom to kind of go wherever we'd like with it. I always, I'm sorry, writers out there, but I just always find the freedom of an actor or an improviser to just go where they need to go just comes across so much more natural. And yeah, so I just love that freedom, which, fast forward to like more currently, you know, get to do it in commercial auditions, get to put
Hmm.
buttons on other scripted stuff that we audition for, which is always a fun thing. But also just the pure improv of it, like it's so delightful just to be explore, and nothing releases creativity more than that. So yeah, my relationship is strong. I mean, we've been dating for a while, me and improv.
Yeah, I love that. You're not planning on breaking up anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. I mean, and it's come to the point where, I love teaching it as much as performing it. And oh man, because there's so many different angles to touch on and
Hmm.
so many different places to be like, oh, I've never seen that done. Let me try that. Or, oh wow, this teacher did that. I'm stealing that because that's genius. And yeah, just to
Hmm.
see people like get out of their shell, or people who are already out of their shell and they just maybe need a little guidance with some improv principles that make them a better listener, which then maybe makes them more creative, maybe better at teamwork, just a better person. So that's kind of where our relationship is at now. Is like, hey, improv to be a better person. That's kind of what I really love about improv, because if you really focus and dig deep in improv, it actually just makes you a more likable, a more like I don't know, well-rounded individual.
Yeah, I love that. And I think one thing that a lot of people think about, since you brought that up, is the idea that improv is only for actors. And you just touched on things that you can learn as someone who is not an actor or not even in the entertainment industry at all, to build those things of like teamwork and listening and being a well-rounded person. Which is something that I think a lot of people forget to acknowledge is the idea that improv is not just for actors, but it truly is for anyone that wants to do it. So I think that was great that you brought that up.
Yeah, yeah. And it's intimidating. It's really intimidating because you're like, oh, I gotta make stuff up, and I'm around actors, and so if there's any way to demystify that, it's like, no, you know what? I like to I like to tell people, who makes the best improvisers? Non-actors, because they don't have any
Hmm.
hang-ups. They don't have the hang-ups of like what makes a good scene, blah blah blah. They are just present, listening, and responding, and you're like, yes, the basics. Um,
Hmm.
and so, I mean, no shade to actors; they're great too in their own way. But it's just to like build up that confidence. I mean, that's like
Yeah,
half the battle is the confidence aspect.
yeah, and it's like the idea of people who are actors have such high stakes in improv for themselves, as
Mm.
if like improv really like it's like oh improv is like life or death. Like if I don't do it right, then my improv career is over. When a lot of people who are not actors don't come from that, like, getting no's in auditions all the time, or not getting this or not getting that. So they're just like, I'm just here to like have fun. Like I have no stakes in this. And I think learning how the irony of it all is that improv is such high stakes in a scene, but so low stakes as a performer of improv. Like
Yeah.
that's what makes it so interesting to me. But I think that that's something that I, for a while, got tripped up on, is thinking that like every scene had to be perfect and it had to be right and it had to be this. That when I finally was what does it matter if I say the thing I'm not supposed, like the thing that I was not trying to say? Like what, like I can't even say what I'm trying to think right now, but like what are the stakes? What am I gonna lose if I don't get the scene exactly right beat by beat, or exactly the way that I intend it to go? Because I also don't know what other people are gonna be doing or responding to me in that scene anyways. I can't be like, okay, I'm gonna say this and then they're gonna say this, and if they don't, then we've failed in this scene.
Hmm.
There's like no stakes. And so
Right.
it's like it's so interesting. But like in the scenes, you make those stakes so drastic that you have this story. But that's what I think is so interesting, and the irony of it all is that improv is so low stakes, but improv scenes are such high stakes.
Right. Right. And maybe there's like something to push to like, hey, let's make it super high stakes where it is life and death in a scene. It almost like makes a mockery of maybe how we feel in a scene.
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
in a good way, where you're
Yeah.
like, and that's a failure. Oh my goodness, as humans, we hate failure, and it's like, fail, please, keep failing, keep failing. That's like part of the joy of like trying something new, then bounce back, the ability to bounce back, and oh yeah, swipe, great, we're in a brand new scene. Let's move on. Let's
Hmm.
never
And
talk
I,
about the scene again, or let's
yeah, that's the
overanalyze it
thing.
after the show,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, it's so interesting because when I do shows, like I will honestly, like, I have a hard time with Harold just because I will forget what I did. Like if I'm supposed to be brought back, I will forget, like, I was like, what was beat one? I don't remember what the first beat was. But like the audience will remember every single moment, and they'll come up and be like, don't you remember when you did this thing? And I'm like, I don't. Actually, like I don't remember it all. But thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And it's like one of those things where like I feel like having taken off the pressure, like you said, of the fear of failure, when I was like, yeah, if it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well. No one's gonna talk about it for like weeks to come. They're just gonna like either remember what happened and tell me how fun it was like that night, or they're not gonna remember after it happened, like I usually forget.
Yeah, yeah. People remember how you make them feel, not what you
Yeah.
say specifically, unless what you say is just like the best joke ever, or like in real life, like the most cutting insult ever. Like usually people just remember how they feel. So if you can bring that
Hmm.
experience to someone as a performer, done, done. You
Yeah.
know, that's why I'm not worried about being funny in scenes either. I'm like, I just want to make someone feel. I want to be interesting. Like
Oh
so,
yeah. And there's a lot about like, I mean, there's a book called Truth and Comedy, which is so realistic because things that people inherently do can be funny or say, because it's like if you have someone who's just very blunt, like my mom, I love you, mom, but my mom is very blunt.
yeah,
It's almost like scene worthy because it's like someone I know could play that character, or I could play that type of a character, and like be so blunt. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go get a haircut. Yeah, thank goodness you finally needed one. Like, and it's so funny because that person just speaking the truth as this character,
mm,
but it's inherently funny without them trying because of the type of character it is. So I think that that's something also that's great, is like not playing for the funny, just playing more realistic and grounded characters, and allowing those characters to impart their own humor through their ridiculous antics.
right. Right. Yeah, it's such an exercise in trust because you're like,
Hmm.
just trust that there will be humor. You'll find it. And if you don't, it doesn't matter. But like if you go to improv for comedy, then yeah, you will find it. But patience, patience, patience. Because then unfortunately you get a lot of people shoehorning in jokes. I've done this.
Hmm.
I've like said, oh, this joke came to mind. Let me tell this joke, and just crickets because it didn't come from a natural place at all. People are
Hmm.
like, people see through it. I mean, you're on when you're on stage, when you're performing, people see everything you do. So as soon as you do something that's not honest, they're like, I call BS on that. And
Yeah,
instead of
that's
saying that,
true.
they just don't laugh.
It happens a lot when like you're doing a two-person scene and they're like, oh, if you need to walk on for like in classes, if you need to walk on, feel free to help them out. And I remember one time I was doing a scene with someone and we were doing this thing where I guess we were like on a date and like one person was doing this and I was like, and then like we were feeding each like giving each other wine. Like it was so interesting, this scene. And it was like this funny thing. We were like down for this ride, and all of a sudden someone comes in and like starts playing like the waiter character and was like, oh, what can we get you? And then at the end of the scene, the teacher goes, okay, so the walk on was fine. I don't think they needed it. They were doing perfectly fine without it. And it made me realize, like in that moment, we weren't having any issues finding the scene. Like the everything was so clear what we were doing, and having that almost like was like, wait, why are you coming in? Like, and so I do agree with that. It's like people can see through it because you can pretty clearly tell as a performer, but also as an audience member, when a scene is struggling and needs the assistance versus when a scene is like perfectly fine with just two people.
Right, right. Oh my goodness. And it's such a, you got to hold back that instinct to be like, oh, I want to join. Oh, I want to join.
Yeah.
Because, well, there's that. But then there's also the instinct of just being like, oh, I have something funny to say. Let me walk in. But you know what? Usually when you walk in, then you have to wait until you get acknowledged. And that joke oftentimes fizzles by that time.
Yeah. And
But
then in theory, you have to walk out too.
right, which in my experience, unfortunately, is most people stick around, and all of a sudden there's 3 people, then 4 people. You're like, okay, now it's crazy now. Now there's just so many
Yeah.
people, so many voices to hear. They never get heard, and so people probably sick of hearing me say it. But if I teach, it's like just two-person scenes, two-person scenes.
Hmm.
But inevitably, you say that, and someone will still join. But that also might be part of, you say something and people do the opposite. That happens all the time. No,
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
but but yeah, yeah. Just add some
Yeah.
information and then get out if you need it. If, and that's a pride thing, I think, on some level, to just say like, oh, does this scene need anything? Maybe they need a
Mhm.
silent walk on, and just to add atmosphere. Something that's, usually people will walk on and they're like, acknowledge me. It's
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah. Yeah, especially when it's not warranted. Uh, that being said, let's transition into a segue because that's what I've been doing lately is transitioning with my segues
a literal
into
segue.
yeah, my Paul Blart segue, I guess, is I don't know, my Paul Blart, and that's
That's
what we'll call it. I don't
perfect.
know. Yeah, sure, why not? Are there any improv scenes that you, as a performer or as a teacher, as a coach, have either performed in or watched, like two-person scene that you like really remember because of something so incredible that they did? Like what like you can even just pick like one of your favorites, like and kind of break down what happened and why you liked it so much.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness, a couple come to mind. One of them, I was I was teaching. This is maybe 8 years ago. It was a long time ago. And at one point, and this happens with a lot of male improvisers, calling me out.
Hmm.
They take a power position in a scene with a woman, and they're it's not just a power position in general. It also seems like there's this kind of sexist mentality attached to it too,
Hmm.
um, which goes back to the idea too of, you also got to work on your own stuff, because otherwise you're going to bring that into scenes and you're going to get called
Hmm.
out. I'm not going to understand why sexist, racist. I don't understand. Well, because I think you might be sexist or racist, and like
Hmm.
some of that stuff work needs to be done outside of improv. But I also think improv can teach how to like steer away from that and create awareness of what you're doing. So I think improv can help too. I mentioned that because in the scene that I remember is someone was like, they're on an airplane and they're saying, oh, hey stewardess. So even initially you're like, okay, stewardess. I mean, maybe it could be a period piece, right? Kind of try to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
And they're like, yeah, stewardess honey, please come over here. Yeah, oh, you're really beautiful, or something like this. Like, makes you uncomfortable
Yeah.
off
Yeah.
that. And yeah, as a teacher, I'm like, do I press pause on this? And then the female improviser did something brilliant by taking back the power. And she said, and the status, and she said, I'm going to turn you in to HR. Like, she just kind of said it, but she didn't say it like in scolding ways. She was just like,
Mm.
oh, can you please, can you give me your HR representative? And it was just so slick that I was like,
Yeah.
oh, and the whole class, I remember just being like, oh, and him as a fairly good listener was like, oh no, no, don't do that. You're like, well, here's what you did. You called me sweetie. And he kind of
Hmm.
she went down the list, and I was just like, that was so brilliant. And anyone who's in a scene where you feel like, you know, whether someone's being racist, sexist, ageist, any of that, you can just walk out of the scene and just be like, I'm not comfortable. Peace. Um, Also, you can do what happened there. And I just thought that was such a fun, interesting power shift. And I was like, great, you're taking back the power. You're making social commentary, which
Hmm.
I love. Um, and yeah, so that was a scene that I really kind of appreciated. And they kept going. And, the power shift happened completely. And then now she's kind of just like, uh, you know what? Maybe you can do my job, and took off her lapel. And, I don't know. So it was just like a complete power shift. Loved
Yeah,
that.
that's
Um,
great.
yeah,
You
there's
said there was another one, I think you said, that you really remember.
yeah. Another one was I was watching The Reckoning at the old IO West, rest in
Hmm.
peace, and I wish I knew the name of the performers, but they were doing this scene, and it was the first time I've ever seen a scene go on for like 10 minutes.
Mm.
Just didn't it didn't initially end. Now, at this point, if you have a main slot at IO West and you're the only team, you get 30 minutes. So sometimes an hour. So they had like a double billing. So yeah, they had a half hour. So they had time, is what I'm saying. Not everyone has the time to do a 10-minute scene,
Right.
but they did it, and it was so well acted. And I just remember, I can't remember again. It's how I felt. How I felt. I was just like, this is brilliant because there's drama sprinkled in humor, and it was just like earned. It was earned. Every laugh was just this belly laugh rather than like a chest laugh, and
Mm.
it was just so satisfying to watch. And I was just like, keep going. Why did you even end the scene? I wanted to see this go on forever. So just like and regrettably so, I have not seen a show at the Improv, and I need to because I know the Improv is awesome. But yeah, that narrative improv where it's just this: I'm going to be serious. I'm going to take I'm not only going to take things seriously, but things have weight and stakes, and the characters care about each other. You're watching a play, but it can go in any direction. And so I remember that. And of course, The Reckoning being such a great team in general. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can probably remember a few scenes that I've been in, but I'm also like, I don't know. And this is maybe just I gotta grow a little bit more confidence in the area. But I'm like, oh, I don't know. Is that selfish? And it's not. You ask the question, but I'm also like, I was so great in this scene, but I think it's also um, you can talk about that without having an ego. But part of me is like, oh, I remember I played this character, or I was in this
Yeah.
show. I mean, the first time I ever did date night, my duo improv team with Elizabeth, I was Elizabeth Hour. It was just like it went on for like a half hour, and I was like, the person who's supposed to like turn off the lights was like, you guys are just doing really good. I just didn't want to turn. And I was like, oh, such a compliment, because when you're in the scene, you're just like, this could go on forever. And then later you find out it went on like 15 minutes longer than it was supposed to.
Mm.
So it feels good when you can do that. If you ever have this feeling where like, yeah, it's about 20 minutes. If you're really aware of time, part of me thinks, well, maybe you're not as fully into the scene as you could be. But if you are surprised by the light going out, then maybe you're like, oh, well, all right, cool. Like, so I don't know if there's, I'm also horrible with time. So, you know,
Yeah.
that could be it too.
No, that makes sense. Cool. Do you have any plugs or pitches you want to share or plug or pitch?
I would pitch. Sure, you can find me on like social media, Michael J. Sielaff, but more so, I would say uh, you are all welcome and invited to Rogue Improv. It's something that I started back in 2013, and it's free improv classes every Monday night. We're on Zoom for the time being, and yeah, we're going to hopefully meet up by the fall. That's the goal. Inside. Ooh. But yeah, free improv classes, different teacher every single week. And yeah, I want to encourage people to try out not just Rogue, but just other improv opportunities. And so yeah, we got a different theme every month as well. So yeah, we hope that everyone can learn no matter what week it is, no matter what skill level you are. There's intentionally no levels because we want to cut down the ego and just focus on the learning. So Rogue Improv, Rogue Improv. Check it out on Instagram, Facebook. Rogue Improv LA at Gmail if you want to get on the email list.
That's great. Also, there's a lot of plugs and pitches going throughout this channel, but I can vouch for Rogue myself. So definitely a welcoming space. So definitely check it out if you get a chance. It's really probably one of the most accessible improv places you can go to, no matter, like you said, your level, your financial boundaries, your accessibility needs. It's actually probably one of the most, if not the most, accessible improv space. So definitely give it a chance if you haven't found something that's accessible to your needs. Um, now that we've gone on a 20-minute tangent on that, no, just kidding. I have one more question for you, and it's the reason why the Improv Summit exists.
Hmm.
Now, before pandemic, but even now, so with improv being ultimately accessible from anywhere in the world, I get a lot of people that say like, "Hey Spencer, you take a lot of improv. Where should I take improv?" And it's always a hard question for me to answer because there's a lot of factors to answering that question. And so I've left it to the other improvisers that I know to kind of give their thoughts on that. So if someone came up to you and asked you, "Where should I take improv?" What's one piece of advice that you'd give to someone to start them on their improv journey?
Okay, I would say go to Rogue. Duh. No, just kidding. That would be somewhere along the line, but I might not say that first, just because it's not about Rogue or it's not about any of these schools. It's about where you feel comfortable, safe, all of that. So, oftentimes I recommend like look like first of all, there's a lot of people during the pandemic that have been teaching classes, free classes, and so that's something to exercise by just Googling it, especially because they're on Zoom now, which you can reach different cities and stuff. I would also say buy some books and watch some stuff online. Like it's not improv online, like film shows is not like the magic experience that you're going to get in person. So if you're allowed to be in person, go to an improv show. First of all, just see improv, please. That's hopefully that's what hooks you. That's what interests you. So go see a show. Go see a show. Go see a show. And yeah, otherwise books, Improvise with Mick Napier. Truth and Comedy was mentioned. You have the UCB handbook, you got Will Hines, greatest improviser in the world, I think it is, because they all have
Great
different
book.
perspectives. Paul Valancourt, we love Paul Valancourt. Like, please, he's got an ebook that's out. And so I think there's all these awesome people that have such a great perspective. Reading about it, especially if you're a reader, is going to help you kind of understand it and gather information about it. So really what I'm saying is, I guess, yeah, gather information. You got books, you got shows, then, just take one class at a theater, whether it's free or not, whatever your, financial,
Mhm.
ability is. Go to Comedy Sports, go to Second City. If you're in a city that doesn't have a lot of improv, there's got to have at least one improv theater. I think most cities do. But yeah, take that level one, whatever it is. Then also feel free to just make a team. Make a team.
Mhm.
Once you have some of this information, make a team. You'll figure it out. You'll fail. You'll succeed. It will be great. Like there's there's no substitution in your learning for being on a team. To be on a team and to support each other and to make up your own form. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, get a coach if you can. If you can't, still meet, do scenes, you know, bounce things off of each other. So all that said is just do. Sometimes there can be so much deliberation of what to do, you do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I understand that. I admit it, I'm a hoarder. So like sometimes you're like, you get so overwhelmed that you just do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just can't.
Yeah.
So just do something.
It's like Netflix. There's so many options, and you sit through for like 30 minutes trying to figure out what you want to watch, and then by that point you're like, I'm over it.
Right.
Just pick something.
Even write down, improvise. You know, your morning pages. Some people are familiar with morning pages.
Mm-hmm.
You just write. That's improv. You're just improvising what you write. You're not planning it. You're just like, let me just keep writing. I don't know what I'm writing. That's improv. Like, that's something that you can do. Play word association games with yourself. Cat, dog, leash, bulldog. You know, I don't know. Like, just exercise that creativity. Yeah, you can improvise today, right now.
That's great. I love that. That's really great advice. And I think just jumping in there and doing is going to be the best way to get better at it and to feel more confident in it, specifically. Thanks so much for joining me, Michael. I said that was the last question I had for you, but as always on the Improv Summit, I'm a big old liar. I actually have another question for you. And that question is, we've been talking a lot about improv. You want to do some improv?
Let's do it. That sounds great.
All right, let's do it. Mike, it's going to be great. You got this.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, I appreciate your approval, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's my sister, but I mean, you know, I think you're a good fit. I think you're a good fit for her.
You think?
No, I mean, I know. I probably should. Yeah, I should. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, no is more. It's more 100%, like 99.9%. Like no. Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Look, Sam, I got 2 rings. Because I'm not sure which one that she. I want her approval as well.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think she'll like either one. She'll like either one.
You're so casual about this.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's such a big deal, and you're already like antsy and nervous, and like, you know, all this. I just want to make it. I just want to make it easier for
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, you know what? How about this? I mean, maybe you could propose for me.
you. I think that might be an idea. I don't think it'd be kind of like weird as the brother to be proposing to my sister. Like, it might be a little odd. But if it's going through me for you, then I guess it's probably not. We could probably make it work. Yeah, we could probably make it work.
Sure. I mean, you're not going to mess it up. I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to like probably get down on one knee, then I'll probably slip on the ice. I mean, I shouldn't have proposed in January, but I just can't wait.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if that's what you think, then I guess. I mean, there's no saying I'm not going to slip on the ice, but you know.
Yeah. Well, how about?
I mean, I won't, but
No.
there's a chance.
Yeah. Well,
99.9% chance I won't, but.
Yeah, you're pretty sure-footed. You're pretty sure, you know, just in life. I admire you. I mean, one might say that I'm trying to marry her just to get to you.
Are you?
What? I mean, I got 2. That's for Amy's great.
And scene. All right, thanks everyone so much for coming to the Improv Summit. I'm Spencer. That's Michael. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.